Did you know your stash has a search bar now? And you can target farm unique on 5 new endgame bosses. Plus leveling is 40% faster. Also a complete new way to level up from level 1 on, like Hell Tides but different. And Summon Necro is back stronger than ever. Finally viable as a full summoner. Maybe. Season 2 of the Potent Blood is promising to be quite something. Let me point out some of the highlights and then focus on what it means for Necromancer with a look at the new Vampiric Powers. The main theme of Season of the Blood is obviously vampires and respective those Vampiric powers that you gain over time. And with that also comes something called Blood Harvest. Blood Harvest is a complete new event like a Hell Tide, with the difference that it's always active. One zone gets overtaken by a Blood Harvest, it ends. Another zone straight up gets taken over from level 1 on. So you can essentially ping from Blood Harvest to Blood Harvest, just clearing these zones, and do some Legion events in between to gain the new materials for one of the end bosses. Those Blood Harvests itself also have new materials that can be used to summon Bloodseekers. And these Bloodseekers will drop potent blood that is needed to upgrade and unlock new Vampiric powers. And this time, these Vampiric powers are class agnostic. They are meant to work for everyone. Malignant Hearts are kind of like Necromancer, Malignant Hearts, the Baron, and so on, you get the drift. But the Vampiric powers are meant to work for everyone. Let's move detailed talk to a later part of the video first. All in all, you level 40% faster because now all your elixirs, playing with a team, having a player nearby, all of this works multiplicative together with your world tier. So the sooner you get world tier 3 and 4 again, that all multiplies XP wise, and in total the XP in Hell Tides and Legion events, for example, was already higher again. It is estimated that you should be getting level 100 40% faster. And that sounds pretty damn good, especially with the opportunity now to target farm uniques on the new end bosses, and even have the chance to target farm uber uniques. Also, your Renown finally carries over. So yes, once you have it maxed out, the skill points, the bonus Paragon points, everything goes over to Season 2. Do it once, get it all unlocked, please, for the love of God, if you haven't yet, and then you'll never have to bother about it again. You can still get your Renown up afterwards for the bonus money and the XP rewards, but that's not really worth it. 2 changes that you will probably love the most. Nightmare Sigils now teleport you right into the dungeon, so you don't port to the dungeon to walk into the dungeon. No, you activate the Nightmare Sigil, you teleport into the dungeon. Plus, your mount is now overall faster, and when you're spurring the mount on PC with spacebar to go, that goes through a barrier. So now as you're traversing through the world, it's not going to feel so absolutely awful anymore to have to mount, demount, mount, remount, whatsoever. Also, the pity timers when you get knocked off the mount or when you demount it in general to remount got lowered by half or 2/3 almost. Now finally, let's talk Vampiric Powers and how they would work with some of the existing Necromancer builds already. This is Metamorphosis on level 1. Plays into the Sanguine Circle. When you evade, you turn into a cloud of bats, becoming unstoppable for 3 seconds. And enemies along the path take the Vampiric Curse. More to the Vampiric Curse in a second. This would already mean you're not forced to technically play Blood Mist anymore as a Necro, because when you evade, you get unstoppable and turn into bats. It's kind of cool, right? Because usually you're forced to always play Blood Mist and you never have something to get out of trouble. Now there's an activation cost for this, and that's bound to your equipment. You take pacts, and this is 2, 2, and 2. These pacts are split into Ferocity, Divinity, and Eternity, and each item has them, each armor item. So helmet, chest, pants, gloves, boots. Gloves can have 5 pacts on them, and there are items to completely remove every single pact, and there's also pacts of Ferocity, pacts of Eternity, pacts of Divinity. So you could put 5 Ferocity on an item to boost your Ferocity by 5. For this pact, you would need items to work that have 2, 2, and 2. Then these pact slots are taken, and the next item needs another 2, 2, and 2. In total, you can see up here, the person has 8, 5, and 6 pacts to activate each respective he has, which I guess is also the maximum amount, because this would be 19 pacts in total. And if gloves already have 5, and I think hands only have 4, that's already 9. And helmet is going to have 3. Chest is going to have another 5. So you're probably going to get up to exactly 19 pacts available to spread throughout powers. And due to the Cleansing Acid and the Pact of Ferocity, you're never kind of locked in. You just find these, you can erase a complete piece that you like and put new pacts on for the respective new ones you want to use. And that's pretty cool. So you're not like, oh no, the socket is wrong. Like the Malignant Hearts, I am screwed. You get these crafting items can be pried from the clutches of Bloodseekers. Bloodseekers can be summoned during Blood Harvest, and the Blood Harvest season event generally seems to drop them. The Season Journey, Opulent Coffins, and a new quest line. Multiple ways to earn them, and well, Blood Harvest is what you're going to do from level 1 on more or less to level. You're going to have plenty. Now, what does the Vampiric Curse exactly do? Because it's said, turn into bats and effect with Vampiric Curse. Killing an enemy affected by your Vampiric Curse stores their soul. Casting a defensive, macabre, or agility skill unleashes stored souls to attack nearby enemies. You can hold up to 8 souls, and they rush in and explode essentially. For our Necro, that would mean using Blood Mist to trigger, Bone Prison, or Bone Spirit. And then we're blasting out our souls for bonus damage if we have Vampiric Curse appliers. Now, these are minor Vampiric Powers. They take 1 to 3 pacts to activate. Again, you have 19 pacts, so you kind of see where we're going with this. Anticipation takes you 1 Divinity Pact only. The ultimate skills gain 20% cooldown reduction, which is huge, 20 flat, and they deal 12% increased damage for each nearby enemy affected by your damage over time effect. Play a Necromancer with Bone Storm and Corpse Explosion that makes Pools of Shadow. Bibbidi bobbidi boo. Welcome to hell. Just absolutely obliterating everything around you. Tempest Necro on top. Coven's Fangs, your Conjuration, Companion, Minion, and Bat Familiar attacks deal 52 increased damage to crowd-controlled enemies. And your Conjuration, Companion, Minion, and Bat Familiar have up to a 30% chance to inflict Vampiric Curse when hitting enemies. Now, there's another one to actually make it Bat Familiar, but that one could finally make minions good. I mean, 52% increased damage to crowd-controlled enemies. You curse them, they're slowed, and my minions do, maybe, finally, Minion Necro, high, on top. And they could constantly inflict Vampiric Curse as well. That would be for 2 Divinity already. Then Domination for 1 Ferocity. You'll deal 24% increased damage to enemies who are stunned, immobilized, frozen, or feared. If they're also injured and not an elite, they're instantly killed. Well, stunned, I can do with Shadow consistently. Immobilized, I can do with Shadow too if I play a Blight Orb. Also works. Feed the Coven. Lucky Hit, Conjuration, Companion, Minion, and Bat Familiar attacks have to a 60% chance to restore 10 primary resource to you and increase your damage by 10% for 4 seconds. Again, like 9 minions, and each of them have a chance to restore 60% chance to restore resource. Minion Bone Necro, Minion Blood Spear Necro, Minion Blood Spear Necro, Blood Lancing everyone. Never running out of Minion Blight Necro as well. Never running out of resource. Hectic. For every 5 basic skills you cast, one of your active cooldowns is reduced by 2 seconds. Useless for Necro because not a single one of mine does use basic skill. Maybe the Sever Necro, which brings me actually back to this, the Sever Summoner. I kind of forget about the Sever Summoner, which did struggle with Essence a little bit. So now having unlimited Essence as the Sever Summoner. Hemomancy. And here it gets insane. Your attacks deal 80% of your maximum life as physical damage to nearby enemies. Nearby enemies, probably like an explosion. Blood Surge Necro, which needs maximum HP to overpower the best. This can only occur once every 4 seconds. That's fine. If I every 4 seconds do a Super Blaster Master hit of 80% of my max life, easy. Plus, you heal for 1% of your max life for each enemy damage this way. As a Blood Surge Necro, you're already an Undying Calamity that just flies through the board. And you do physical damage already. Now you do even more physical damage, plus you heal even more. Thank you very much. Blood Surge Necro Insanity. Infection. Hitting enemies with direct damage infects them with a pox. Inflicting pox times on an enemy expunges their infection, dealing 70% poison damage. Not the best for Necro because there's more indirect damage than direct damage to the Necro too. And then Thorns have a 10% chance to deal 300% increased damage and chill enemies for 8 seconds. Fun, but I'm not a fan of Thorns builds. If you like it though, could be interesting, especially with your Golem. Prey on the Weak. You deal 60% increased damage to vulnerable enemies. And enemies are vulnerable while affected by Vampiric Curse from your other Vampiric Powers. So 60% increased damage to vulnerable. And enemies are vulnerable if they get hit by your minions as well, because your minions have a chance to put the Vampiric Curse on. So 52% increased damage to crowd-controlled enemies. Then they get Vampiric Curse. Then you restore resource. And yes, you guessed right. You would also be able to do 16% bonus damage in total. Sounds good. Already a nice build shaping up. Rampart. After not moving for 3 seconds, you gain a barrier for 40% of your maximum life for 6 seconds. This effect can only occur every 20 seconds. You get a standstill for 3, you get a 40% barrier for 6, but that can only be every 20 seconds. I think it reads worse than it is, and there is builds where this works with, especially for Sorcerer with a Flamethrower. Ravenous, lucky hit, up to a 20% chance to increase your attack speed by 40% of your total movement speed for 6 seconds. Well, Necro is naturally very slow, so that's rather for Rogue or a Druid. Resilience, you gain 1% damage reduction for each 2% life you're missing. That could also be interesting for the Blood Necro, with the only problem that the Blood Necro can't go below 80% life, because then you're not healthy anymore and you're not stacking up your stacks to do more overpower. Still interesting. I mean, 80% life is another for every 2% life missing, so you're missing 20%, 10% damage reduction. Sanguine Brace. When you kill an enemy, fortify for 6% of your base life. While you have more fortify than half of your maximum life, you gain 8% critical strike chance. That does not sound bad, as you're zooming through a dungeon and you continuously would have an 8% critical strike chance. That being said, you probably want to have another fortifying ability from your Paragon board, like you do with pick up blood orbs to bonus fortify, and that would give you then bonus critical strike chance. That's actually good for the Bloodlands only crit build. That's not the Bloodlands overpower build. Terror. When struck, you have a 14% chance to fear nearby enemies and slow them by 80%. You are guaranteed to critical strike enemies who are feared. That is intriguing, considering that you also could play the gloves for the homing corpse explosion, the howl from below, that have a percentual lucky hit chance to fear enemies, which would then make your Ring of Mendon procs quite guaranteed. But it wouldn't really work against bosses because you can't fear them, so sounds nice, but probably Undying. Yes, Undying. Casting skills heals you for 3% life. Double this bonus while below 50%. What? Why? I mean, do they not want us to ever die? This seems like you need, like, I don't know if I'm reading this wrong or not, but this seems like you need to play this, whoever you play. I mean, I would, yeah, just Undying. Yeah, thank you. Now it gets interesting with the Mayor of Vampiric Powers. 6 packs are required. Now thinking back, 19 packs in total, 5 powers you can take, and you need 6 packs for this. So you could take 3 of these plus 1 more. That would be 19. That would kind of suck. So I guess you're going to probably take 1 or 2 Mayor Vampiric Powers, and the rest is going to get filled with the other stuff. A Cursed Touch. Up to a 40% chance to inflict Vampiric Curse on enemies. Enemies with a Vampiric Curse have a 15% chance to spread it to other surrounding enemies. Accursed Souls deal 200% increased damage. The souls are the ones you get for killing cursed enemies, and they would do 200% increased damage then. Interesting. Could also work with a Blood Surge build, and interestingly enough, with the Bloodlands build, but I think there's better things to be had. There's the Bathe in Blood while channeling a skill. We don't have channel skills. You form a pool of blood beneath you. While channeling a skill in a pool, your channel skills deal 40% increased damage, and you gain 30% damage reduction. I said Sorcerer, Flamethrower Sorcerer, this, plus the Barrier power. I'll definitely level one of those at some point. Blood Boil. When your core skills overpower an enemy, Bloodlands or Blood Surge, you spawn 3 volatile blood drops. Collecting a blood drop causes it to explode, dealing 60% physical damage around you. Every 20 seconds, your next skill is a guaranteed overpower. Now, every 6 Bloodlands overpowers, every 5th Blood Surge overpowers, every 12 seconds, you guarantee overpower because of Rathmas Chosen. Every 20 seconds, your next skill is guaranteed to overpower as well. So you're permanently overpowering, plus the random overpowers in between, spawning volatile blood orbs that you can just run over. I do like what I see here for the Blood Necro. Call Familiar. I said you can summon bats, and there you go. Casting a Mastery, Weapon Mastery, Macabre, Wrath, or Imbuement skill calls a bat ally to attack nearby enemies, dealing 80% physical damage with a 30% chance to stun. 30% chance to stun against bosses would be interesting because the stagger bar should actually go quite up. Again, Macabre skill would be for us going for Bone Prison or Blood Mist. I mean, Bone Prison you would continuously use if you want to do some Summoner Necro fun again, so yeah, I mean, it could work. Glowing Veins. You deal 60% increased damage over time to enemies that are moving or affected by a Vampiric Curse. Going for the whole Shadow Necromancer thing again. even though the Shadow Necromancer's damage over time is a proc, yes, the Shadow Blight proc that can super stack high, but making a Shadow Corpse Explosion super damage over time, I mean, this is 60% bonus damage over time, multiplicative with everything you have, health from below and such and so on. Could be nice with all the bonus damage there, but I kind of feel like currently Blood Necro takes the crown. Metamorphosis. When you evade, you turn into a cloud of bats, becoming unstoppable for 4 seconds. Enemies along your path take 160% increased physical damage and are inflicted by the Vampiric Powers. So you make them take more physical damage, which would really work well with, well, our exploding blood orbs that deal physical damage, with the bonus 80% of your maximum life as physical damage to nearby enemies. So yeah, sounds good. Moonrise. Hitting an enemy with the basic skills grants you 4% attack speed for 10 seconds, stacking up to 5 times. 20% attack speed. Upon reaching maximum stacks, you enter Vampiric Blood Rage, gaining 160% basic skill damage and 115% movement speed. Well, that sounds really nice for druids, but again, no basic skills for me as the Necro. Now, Overpower seems to be on top, but they also want to rework Overpower, Vulnerable, and Critical Strike to a degree, so we'll see about that. But I can already see a potential Shadow Necro, a Overpower Necro, definitely focusing on the Vampiric Curse. And yes, the Summoner Necro seems to be also back. If I stack all the Conjuration abilities, the Coven's Fangs, Defeat the Coven, I definitely are going to be trying out to make Summoner Necro once more great again. Now, there's one final thing to mention, that is the 5 new bosses. The Agravartian Grigor, the Beast of Ice, Durial, and Lord Zir. If you do the Tree of Whispers, there's essentially materials you gain to summon the Agravartian, and you can drop certain uniques, and you can do that from tier 3 on. As if you do Helltide events and focus on Helltide's event, you also get materials to summon Grigor, who can also drop certain uniques. And Grigor and Varshan also drop materials that you can then use to summon Durial, Uber Durial, and that Durial has the chance to drop Uber uniques as well. There's still Agra of Lilith, don't forget she exists. Then if you do Nightmare Dungeons up from tier 21 on, there's materials dropping to summon the Beast of the Eyes, so you get this for free because you do Nightmare Dungeons anyways. But then also World Bosses and Legion events leads to materials for Lord Zir, who also has the chance to drop certain uniques, and each of them also have a respective cosmetic they can drop for you, which means that there is worth to do any endgame activity apart from just doing the endgame activity. So you're doing Helltides to get the mystery chest, but at the same time materials for Grigor. You're doing Tree of Whispers to get the caches and bonus XP, but at the same time Varshan. You do Nightmare Dungeons for the Glyph XP, but at the same time Beast of the Eyes. You do Legions events because Legion events also have a chance to drop certain cosmetics and give good XP, and they're a nice respite from all the other things to summon Lord Zir. Everything has a bonus meaning. That is fantastic. Don't worry, ladies and gentlemen, Season 2 is going to have me deep diving with the Necromancer in every single way, left, right, up and down and ugly. And I really do appreciate last season you actually giving me money so I could reskill 400 times over. Are you excited or not? Are you going to play? And if you're already excited about Necro builds, Tempest Necromancer and the Blood Search build I was talking about,